Hello and welcome to another episode of the Digital India Summit 2020, Enabling the New Normal, co-presented by Tata Consultancy Services. Driving the theme, Enabling the New Normal, the summit draws a roadmap to accelerate India's digital growth with actionable insights from eminent speakers. Today, we take a look at the impact of digitization on the healthcare sector. One of India's major challenges has been providing quality healthcare to its citizens. This challenge has been addressed to a large extent with technology. The easy availability of a good data connection and affordable smartphones has given a sizable boost to telemedicine. Add to it the Honorable Prime Minister's National Health ID initiative, the National Digital Health Mission, and India's healthcare sector is poised for a remarkable transformation. Our next panel will explore the key turning points and challenges for the way ahead. Times Network's Tamanna Inamdar is in conversation with K. Anant Krishnan, Chief Technology Officer at TCS, Dr. Randeep Guleria, Director AIIMS, and Debashish Banerjee, Head Innovation and Strategy at Novartis.
Welcome to all of you to the Times Network Digital India Summit 2020. I'm Tamanna Inamdar, and today we're talking about a subject that is crucial when we see the impact of digital technology on all of our lives. We're looking at the digital transformation in the healthcare space. Now, this can't be emphasized enough that the COVID-19 global pandemic has changed all of our lives in every aspect, and healthcare is primarily one of them. Telemedicine was something that was used quite sparsely, and by some estimates, it's increased by about 500% since March this year. Nearly half of those using telemedicine are believed to be from non-metro cities. The question is, how can we now make sure that this huge transformation is escalated, taken forward, and used to give good, affordable healthcare to various parts of this large country? And joining me today for this very special discussion on the Times Network is, of course, K. Anant Krishnan, the Chief Technology Officer at TCS. Great to have you on the show. I'm also joined by Debashish Banerjee, who is Head Innovation and Strategy at Novartis, and Dr. Randeep Guleria, Director of AIIMS, also on the show. Welcome to all of you, gentlemen, and thank you for speaking with us today. Let me start with you, Dr. Guleria, as a practitioner. What really, in real terms, I would ask, has been the impact on digital transformation in healthcare of COVID-19? How has it gone beyond using social media and apps, etc., to connect doctors with patients? That's step one. But where do you see it going much, much ahead?
What COVID-19 did was that from what something that was considered sacrosanct or traditional was a patient-doctor face-to-face interview and face-to-face interaction. Doctors and patients felt very sort of comfortable when they saw each other face-to-face, when the doctor examined the patient thoroughly and was able to talk or listen to the patient in a face-to-face conversation. The pandemic and the infectious nature of the pandemic changed all of that, and we moved on to teleconsultation. Uh, the government of it and the law which came into practice, which made teleconsultation much more easier, and patients and healthcare professionals realized that teleconsultation is something which is safe. It saves a lot of time. People don't have to wait outside OPDs for a very long time, and it's convenient for both the user and for the provider, that is the physician, and for the patient. And that is how it has changed the way medicine is going to be practiced as far as consultation is concerned. It has a huge meaning as far as our country is concerned, because it also leads to the fact that one can reach out to a large number of people, especially in smaller towns and in rural India, where access to healthcare is not that good. And by using teleconsultation, one can provide appropriate advice to these individuals who will not be able to come to a larger city or seek the consultation that they do need. But I think this is just the beginning. This has led us to really look at innovation in a way that we would say that how can we look at telehealth in a more holistic manner. Teleconsultation is only one part of the entire technological revolution that can happen in health. So I feel that this is just a stepping stone for a big revolution that has to happen in the health sector as far as technology is concerned.
Anand, as far as the use of tech to manage healthcare is concerned, it sounds fascinating. My question is, how can it be utilized to make sure that healthcare is accessible more widely, in your view? How can we use the learnings we've had from COVID 19 to make sure that quality healthcare and affordable healthcare reaches our villages, reaches our rural areas?
Tamana, excellent question. And I agree with Dr. Guleria that COVID-19 in many ways has reset the expectations of the entire health ecosystem on the art of the possible. Whether it's the government, whether it's the medical fraternity, whether it's the technology community, and indeed all of us, we have come to expect a lot from information technology. I'll give you two different examples of how this could be carried forward from the learnings of COVID-19. The first one is in the preventive side, in the sense that even before people fall ill, is there a way that we can learn from what happened in different parts of the country in the COVID-19 response? There was a lot of information technology in the analytics, in the forecasting of where the hotspots will be, what will be the impact of lockdowns and unlocks at different phases in different parts of the country. This has increased the confidence levels of the preventive health system to use information technology much more in the planning phases. City of Pune, for example, great collaboration between the local government, citizens at large, NGOs, TCS providing the IT backbone for the digital twin of the city. And while it took a lot of iterations to get it right, it has now reached a stage where it can potentially be replicated in other parts of the country for not just pandemic planning, but for perhaps a lot more of health applications. The second example is the Digital Nerve Center, which TCS piloted in 3 or 4 districts across the country, even before COVID-19, which is an IT-enabled backbone, which has paramedics at the front end going down to every village, every individual, with information technology interventions, perhaps a tablet, an integrated health system, connecting it to the district hospitals, to the city hospitals, and then the tertiary hospitals like AIIMS, providing the last line of treatment. That has been proven at scale in these districts. And now the larger Tata Group is going to take it and give it a little more depth and capability.
I think the biggest test of whether the use of digital transformation in healthcare is actually working or not will be when we come to the vaccine delivery. That's the big elephant in the room, because it's a gargantuan task, really, to deliver a vaccine once it's safely certified and available to such a large population. Dr. Guleria, let me come to you. Where do you see the role of technology here? You referred earlier to the National Digital Health Mission that the Prime Minister announced on the 15th of August. And that is still in the works. But do you think we will have to, as a country, now accelerate this, link it to digital health cards to ensure that as many people as is needed are vaccinated?
Yes, definitely. So, although we have a very robust vaccination policy as far as children is concerned, we don't have a vaccination policy as far as adults are concerned. And although we have in place, and this is a lot of work being done currently also by the government, of how do we uh, do this mammoth task of, once the vaccine doses are available, of distributing it across the country, maintaining the cold chain, having enough syringes and needles to give it, having trained people who can give the injection. And remember, there are 2 doses to be given. And at the same time, how do we really have enough staff to be able to give it and explain the side effects that may happen once vaccination is done? But I think the other big challenge is, how do we identify those who are to be prioritized to give the vaccine? Because obviously we will not have enough doses on day one or even up in a month's time. So that line listing of healthcare workers, frontline workers, those who are at high risk of dying because of COVID-19 needs to be done. And that is where digital technology will come in a big way, that we will have to, and the government is developing a sort of a software, a program where data entry can happen, and that will subsequently, I think, expand onto digital health and in a big way. So this is a huge task, and I think this can only be done by getting digital health and technology on board in a big way if you want to if you want it to succeed in a country as large and as diverse as as India.
Anand, you want to come in there? That would be really the test case for the use of technology. The upcoming biggest challenge is the delivery of the vaccine. I think it will be something which has never been done before in the history of mankind to vaccinate such a huge population almost at the same time.
Tamanna, you're right. This is perhaps the biggest IT challenge in anybody's imagination. Individually, I don't think I have seen anything larger in terms of size, scale, complexity, the number of people involved, and so on. And I echo what Dr. Guleria also said. India is large, complex, diverse, geography, number of people, cultures, age groups and demographics and so on. So it cannot get harder than this. And indeed, the eyes of the world are on India to show the way. Now, let me break up my response into two or three perhaps related but individually important pieces. The first is the size, scale, diversity one. Let me look at that first. The largest vaccination program in the world today perhaps is what we do in India. And the United Nations is keenly supported this. We have stellar success in vaccinating our children and vulnerable sections of our society against a host of diseases. And that touches perhaps 50 million people a year. 50 million is a huge number, perhaps the largest in the world, but 50 million in the context of 1.3, 1.4 billion overall population is a very tiny number. The second data point is the nearly universal healthcare system that we have, and Ayushman Bharat PMJ essentially covers about half our population. Huge number again, runs into 600 million, but it's about half our population. Many other large governmental schemes which reach out to individuals, whether it's financial inclusion and so on, also are of that order of magnitude. 500, 600, 700 million people are covered routinely by such interventions, and a lot of TCS software underpins any of these large programs as well. Nothing else comes close. So this is not just big for India, but it's probably going to be the biggest, perhaps one or two in the world.
Yeah, it is the big one. Debashish, you want to add in on this, because that would be the true test, and it will be fascinating to see how it will roll out. And so many aspects and so many parts of the puzzle have to fit together. You have to have state governments, central governments working together, your nodal agencies, and then your private players as well, to make sure that there is universal coverage.
From the manufacturing side to the patient, all the different things that you have spoken about, if we can somehow link that, and blockchain might come in very, very handy. The other piece that comes to my mind is this other, which is a drone-based, delivery. And I do want to highlight something like we have tried and we have tested in Africa, which is medicine from the sky, kind of a philosophy. Now, all the time, the question was always, is it better? Is it safer? Is it saving money? Is it doing this? Is it doing that? But right now, the time is that where we do not have the machine, right? And when you do not have the machinery to make it happen, this is the best time where we can actually start to think on those kind of ideas as well. I do know the government has started something very new, which is the BVLOS, beyond the visual line of sight. And a lot of experimentation and ground has been given to some of the retail and food delivery and all that. But I think pharma companies and medicine and hospital and all of us should jump that bandwagon and start to think about, can that be an alternate mode while you are doing this election kind of a thing? Can that be an alternate mode which enhances and adds and amplifies what you're trying to do here? So think on those kind of other technologies is what comes to my mind.
That's fascinating. The delivery of healthcare via drones, and may not be that far-fetched in the future. Let me do a follow-up question with you, Debashish, and I will go around and ask everyone this, that when we're talking in broad terms of the impact of digital transformation of healthcare in India, especially in the light of COVID-19, can you come back with a couple of specific things that you see rolling out and you are working on which excite you?
So I mean, first of all, I think the good news is that we are out here. I think a lot of companies have now moved to the phase 3. I think the vaccine is a possibility and a reality as we move forward. And the most, I mean, while all the delivery, I think we have spoken about that in terms of how the delivery will happen, how we'll reach out to the rural part of the world, how we'll do that, how we'll do this. I am in very focused right now. So you asked me what is exciting for me to think about. Very focused right now to think about our employees as well and their families. Okay, and I'd like to take that, the perspective. There is a lot that is happening within ourselves. So we are thinking about new transformational areas and all that. And obviously, the traditional ways are not working. We are not in office. Everybody is home. Everybody is in a makeshift kind of an environment. How do you sustain this? How do you make sure that they are all supported and being taken care of as the vaccines are coming out? That's like one of the big focus area that we are also having. I mean, while I know, we will all talk about different elements, and I think we have spoken about few of it. I wanted to take that, perspective as well, thinking about our employees, thinking about their well-being. We have launched something like a choice with responsibility and things like that. So we are making those kind of things happen so that we make sure that our healthcare workers, our people who are working in the manufacturing units and all are all safe and healthy and are taken care of.
Anand, you want to come in on that? Reveal some of the exciting things that you are working on and what excites you the most?
Tamanna, you're putting me on a spot. What are the top 3 that I will pick? So essentially, I think I would go with the credibility that AI and computing have got now in the pharmaceutical world. The amount of computer scientists working on bioinformatics and biotechnology, computational biology, systems biology, metagenomics, genetics, and so on is huge. It's probably equal now to the actual specialists in those areas. What are the kind of things that we are doing? There is cancer research going on. Can we identify genetic patterns and predict and potentially even prevent? Many of the metagenomic efforts trying to find the relation between the biome which exists within the human body, the bacterial genome which is there inside all of us, and the disease burden that results from those. That is another frontier area where information technology and AI are playing a big role. And indeed, in drug molecule discovery, candidates, and so on, COVID-19 saw a lot of different potential cases of very interesting formulations which have been filtered through this lens of computational AI-based techniques and, of course, the pharmaceutical and genetic other expertise. That's point number 1. Point number 2 is the use of technology in the pre-diagnostic, the diagnostic, and the post-treatment protocols. And I think we heard some of that from earlier interventions by Dr. Guleria as well. The use of information technology in all of these in the COVID times has given a lot more jump and credibility that would not have happened otherwise. And the third, I think I would agree with Debashish, but extend it a little bit. Is technology to educate our own people in companies, workforces to adopt good practices, stay healthy, wash your hands, and wear masks and so on, has proven its worth. The safety protocols in most large corporations are now very satisfactory and improving.
Yeah, Dr. Guleria, I want to come to you with a slightly different aspect to that question, which is the challenges as we introduce more technology in our healthcare system. As a practitioner, do you think that there is a flip side, that sometimes some of the best diagnosis does take place when you see a patient face to face, and those are some of the concerns going forward that we have to think about as well.
Definitely, I think there are challenges both in terms of acceptability and trying to see how we can do the best as far as patient care is concerned. Remember, medicine is a science and an art. The science of medicine is what technology can give us. The art of medicine comes through interacting with the patient, being able to pick up the subtle signs which a patient may sort of indicate regarding his disease, but is not forthcoming about it. And that is why sometimes being able to talk to a patient, listen to the patient is more important than just doing all the tests that are required to make a diagnosis. Sometimes you get more information by what the patient has not said than by what the patient has said. And therefore, I think we have to really look at medicine in a holistic manner. Technology will change how we practice medicine, and it will really make it much more useful. We will be able to reach out to a large number of people across the country. Technology will also make it easier for us to be more precise in our diagnosis, whether it's being looking at your lung capacity, whether it's looking at an ultrasound. And I think when we look at preventive health, we could look at technology using mobile means of and less trained individuals who could actually do analysis or could sort of do a health checkup of people in rural India and be able to upload the data which could be analyzed subsequently and be able to diagnose a lot of diseases before they actually happen. It could be high blood pressure. Large number of people in rural India never get their blood pressure checked, never had their blood sugars examined, or so many other things. So it can play a huge role in decreasing the burden of disease and also preventing people from getting sick. I think that is something that is going to be a huge advantage. But in a number of conditions, there will have to be some face-to-face contact with patients, especially those who are sick, who will need to have that sort of human touch, if I may put it that way, as far as doctor patients are concerned. But I think it will be supported to a large extent by what technology has to offer.
Absolutely. I mean, it's unlikely that technology will replace that face-to-face and interpersonal relationship between patient and doctor anytime soon, but will definitely boost it for both in terms of access and in terms of information as well. So exciting times ahead, and something that we will see sooner than later. I think the next 6 to 8 months will truly be transformational as far as the impact of technology is in the healthcare sector. And I want to thank all of you for joining us and shedding light on this.
Health is wealth, and technology is giving it a much-needed booster shot. That's all on this episode of Digital India Summit 2020, Enabling the New Normal, co-presented by Tata Consultancy Services. Thank you so much for watching.